Welcome back. This will be part 7 in the character texture creation tutorial series. Last video we introduced smart materials, and my suggestion is to play around with a lot of variety of them. Look at the preview, see what kind of detail it might add here. So if I go to steel ruined, that's some pretty interesting kind of bumpy detail for certain materials. If you have leather, that looks pretty neat. We would just turn off the metallic look to it. There is also a variety of leatherettes as well that have some interesting wear and tear detail to them that you can pull from. There's glass, there's fabric, there's leather damaged. So my idea is to just look at the material preview, drag it in, see what kind of layers underneath that smart material might be helpful for you. The still painted scrape looks really interesting. So let's just drag that on here. I'm just going to show you a couple other details that we can do with some of the materials. So that, of course, makes it look really wild and crazy looking. With the metallic areas, maybe I don't want them to be metallic, but so let's go down base metal and turn off that base metal. Okay, so the default material underneath will come through. So look at the grime and the scratches and dirt that has. It's pretty interesting to look at. Let's see, let's take off the paint. And let's take off some of these other layers like that dirt. That might be interesting to leave on there. But that'll kind of stylize it a little more. There's a paint with a mask. Let's see what happens when we invert mask. Yeah, it's kind of neat in some areas. Probably not what I want for this particular character, but it will highly stylize these things. So the idea is to take a look and see, it's like steel painted chipped. I don't know, it could be neat looking. Steel painted chipped. There you go. So look, we got some interesting scratches going on now. So if you needed some specific materials, yeah, the rust looks really cool. Let's take off our paint, take off our metal. There you go. So that added a pretty cool scratch detail to it as well. So it might be interesting to add to our clothing also, like some scratch work on the clothing. Maybe I don't need any of these other ones. Remove that, remove the paint. Let's pull this into our grime layer. Then I can remove my steel painted. So I think it's this one. Nope, let's pull it above everything. We'll try to pull it out of that group for a second. Yeah, there we go. So we can call this one like scratches. Okay. We can play around with that as well, lower that value some so it's blended. You can go into that mask editor, randomize it a lot. Okay, randomize the top one, randomize the bottom one. Let it generate it. There we go. So we can add kind of other kind of scratch detail that's pretty neat on there as well. It might be interesting to add to the skin as well. So let's copy it above the skin. So we have some scratches on the skin, more variety there. Let's change the color so it's more reminiscent to the skin tone color. Bluish, darkish blue. Pretty cool. There you go. Let's go play around with the mask editor again. Randomize. And an update. Randomize. Maybe we'll do more of a balance. Let's try that. Maybe less contrast. Let's see what that looks like. Maybe with the top one. There it is. More balance here. Some more scratches. There you go. One more contrast variety. So that could be an interesting way. Let's see, let's go back to the opacity. Drag that down really low. So that way we have some scratches on the skin as well. That'll make it interesting. More variety to it. See those interesting scratches that it's added. So those are other ways that we can use smart material. Just pull out areas that you like. There's also some specific smart material skin tones as well. There's a skin face, a skin feverish, and a skin human simple. I like the feverish one, so I'm going to show that one here temporarily. We'll drag in skin feverish on top of everything. Okay, so it is going to make it look kind of weird, but there is some interesting detail underneath that that we'll pull out of it. So let's just go ahead and add a mask to this. Let's do a black mask, and let's polygon fill just on the skin areas. That'll work for now. It'll be fine. Alright, so it looks kind of like a burn victim almost. But we're going to turn off some of these other layers in the skin feverish. So let's turn off skin base. Okay, and let's turn off skin dark. Right. See what happens when I turn off skin detail. There's some patches that's really neat that it can pulls out. Surface scattering. Underneath that, oh, nope, I think that's everything. Scratches. No, that's the scratches that I built earlier. Okay. Okay, so there's our spots. Maybe I want to change this from linear dodge to something else, normal. So I think I need my light one here. There you go. So you can see skin spots, patches and whatnot. Let's see, that is normal. Yeah, it should work when it's normal. Let's take the spots and drag it out. There you go, and let's delete the skin fevers because that's really the one. Patches isn't doing too much. It's actually really low, so let's drag up patch. Yeah, you can see the red patches coming up, I think. Yep, the patches might be nice. Come back and add this back later. Okay, so let's drag these two into our main skin, but underneath our eyes and mouth there. Probably underneath our dirt layers too, so just over the skin. All right, turn off our those two. Actually, we could put this on our skin layer. There we go. So put that there. There we go. All right. All right. So there's our skin. All right. So the spots is really neat because it adds more variety to the skin. So if we go to spots, we might can scale it up more. So 8, 12. Here we go. That's looking pretty interesting. So blemishes or variety in our skin tones is really nice to add. I can drag my opacity back more, so it's it still has the color, but those spots aren't as strong. Kind of neat there. Spots can be there, but just add more variety to it as well. Let's look at patches. I think we just need to change the way it's blending. So there's a normal. What happens if we do overlay? There you go. So overlay is pretty good. It's just too much going on here. So let's drag that back some. You can kind of see it is adding more variety to the skin tone as well. So these are some good ways that we can add some interesting variety to skin tones. And I hadn't even gone into like the generator for the patches or whatnot and play around with. This is just a basic cloud. The spots has a dirt, 2 different dirt adjustments as well that I can play around with histogram and contrast. So there's just other ways that we can add more variety to the skin tones and whatnot as well, which is really neat to play with. Let's look at the skin face. Let's actually make sure we go all the way back to the top. So let's do skin face and drag this to the top. Let it generate. All right, so let's look at the layers that it's building here. There's skin patches, skin pores. That's pretty interesting. I don't think I need anything from there, so I'm just trying to see what else I can pull from some of these skin. Let's do skin, human, simple. Let's try that one, see what we got in there. Anything in there? Veins. That's the one I wanted, the veins. So I'm just going to keep the veins. The dots is very similar to what I already had earlier. So let's drag our veins to the top. And then I'm going to delete this simple human skin. So this veins are going to be pretty cool. Let's increase the contrast of it. You can see on his forehead of those veins kind of popping out. And they're red veins right now, so we can always change that color. Maybe instead of red, maybe like a purplish color. Could be neat. There you go. That'll work pretty well. But throughout the body, then we'll have this kind of natural variety of veins that's popping through the skin as well. Let's add that to our main skin. So let's kind of keep dragging this down. Where did my skin go? Oh, there it is, main skin. So let's open that up underneath there, and then we'll open up our skin and pull it maybe over. That's fine right there. Okay, we'll pull it in there. That's a good spot for it. All right, so veins is really cool. So we can drag this back some, so it's not as contrasty. But I'm looking at this kind of veiny area right there. Let's go to the generator, and we actually have 3 different generators here. So we have crystals, we have levels, and sails. So each one of these has its own kind of variety to it. So we can do warp distance to kind of play around with some of these, add more or less disorder to it as well. Kind of fading it out a lot now. Drag it some. Let's look at sails. We can do distance as well. Make them larger or smaller. Add more or less disorder. Maybe we'll pull our opacity up more so we can see it. So that's just another way to add more variety to the skin. Those are actually some pretty good vein details. Let's drag it back some to dial it down. But those veins at a small level can really add a lot of more natural look to your textures, even though it doesn't have to be very realistic. So those are ways that we can add some more skin tone and more variety with some of these other layers in a variety of these smart materials. All right, that'll wrap it up this video. Next video we'll come back and we'll do a demo on opacity. And then in a later video we'll come back and talk about how to export these back into Maya.